Hi there. Welcome back. This is a continuation of a series that I decided to do this summer, which is the summer behind the scenes. And that honestly is just because I have a lot on my plate right now. And I decided that creating content for a podcast just isn't a good thing to add to the pile right now. And so, if I'm not going to plan anything, if I'm not going to be like outright creating content that I know will fit into, my funnels and my offers and all of that stuff, then at the very least that I can do instead of going dark or taking a break for the summer is just to sit down and share with you some of the behind the scenes stuff. If you caught the episode last week, things have perked up since then. I actually kind of rewatched some parts of that episode and I was like, wow, I look really sad. And even my posture and it's just one of those things that happens when you make content for a personal brand, putting your own personality out there, but also being authentic and sharing the real stuff that you're going through. It can be interesting to rewatch some of the stuff that you create. And that was only a week ago. I could imagine looking back at some of the content that I made years ago and probably seeing now what I was going through behind the scenes and seeing it come through, but also knowing that probably no one would really know. But I do hope that you're giving yourself some space to just be in whatever it is that you're in right now, because it can be really hard to pretend that everything is okay. And we shouldn't have to do that anyway. But, that's the world we live in, right? We try to make it so that we're hopeful, or at least I do. I try to make it so that I'm feeling hopeful and positive, and so I can be more of a positive influence on other people's lives. And I'm still learning. This is a long-term lesson that I'm trying to learn. I'm learning that it's also helpful and it's also uplifting to show the sides of you that aren't doing so well, because people resonate with that too. And so just a reminder, this is the compassionate side hustle strategy. So what I want to do is remind you of the definitions that I use personally. I like to use the definitions for self-compassion as defined by Dr. Kristen Neff, and that usually involves 3 elements. So there's the element of kindness, just being nice to yourself and not beating yourself up about it, whatever it is that you're trying to be more compassionate with. Remembering common humanity, so remembering you have this experience in common with other people. And then the third part is just being mindful of it, just seeing it for what it is, trying to keep it neutral. And for me, a good way to remember this part is to not over identify with it. So if you're in, for example, a low mood, you're not feeling particularly inspired, you kind of want to give up, or, something didn't go as planned and you're like, maybe I'm on the wrong path. Not over identifying with that means just letting that be what happened and not making it like your whole identity, like I am a failure or I need to absolutely change everything around and, not pursue this anymore, because, things happen and it's not any one thing that leads you toward that decision to give up. And certainly if you've always wanted to own a business and you've dreamed of this and you still really want to do it, then obviously don't give up. You can pivot, you can change it around a little bit, but don't give up on it. All right. So remembering those kinds of things, more of a self reminder, honestly, because this is more of a personal sharing kind of episode. But yeah, on a side note, this is what I'm totally fidgeting with. Isn't this so cute? It's like it's a, one of those stressy, squishy things, but it's in the shape of one of those like rubber ducks. And it's so cool to, yeah. So if you see my hands moving, this is what I'm like obsessing with. I found that it's really good for me to fidget with things while I'm recording content. And this is one of those things that's like my total favorite right now. Yeah, I love it. Okay, so do you ever find that maybe your brain and your heart are on the same wavelength and they're following the same plan and you're like, okay, I'm really into this, but your body is like not checked into that plan and totally being a bummer about it? because that's where I am. And what I mean by that is that I have plans and I have things that I'm working on, but for some reason there's just like a lot of resistance, and sometimes I just can't get my body to do the things that I want my body to do, which I've learned is actually a thing that people have. And it's not laziness, and it's not, yeah, it's a real thing, which is hard for me to accept because I'm so used to giving myself that like tough love of, you got to get up and do it. You got to, you just have to make yourself do it. And it's just a matter of like getting up, and it's not, I mean, and like, and I don't want to pretend that I have like chronic pain or anything like that. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, just because I'm not in actual physical pain doesn't mean that there's not a real reason why I'm not getting up and doing the things. But anyway, no self-diagnosing here. I'm just saying that it would actually be helpful if all parts of my body were on board with the things that I want to do. But yeah, a little update from me is that I went on a couple trips with my family. I went to Monterey and so my family, when I say that, it's my dad and my brother who I am a caregiver for, and then my dad who is my dad. And we went to Monterey. It was really fun. I haven't been there in years because of the pandemic, but we got to do a lot of walking. Very tiring, I will say, but we had a good time going to the aquarium, walking on Fisherman's Wharf, doing a lot of window shopping and looking at little trinkets and stuff on Cannery Row. And so that was really fun and a nice experience for me to have with my brother, just getting out of the house and getting out of our regular routine and going and doing things. And it helps that my brother is like a real shopper. I don't know if he learned that from us or if that's just his personality, but I'm guessing it's his personality because nothing about him is really anything that we imprinted onto him, I don't think. And by the way, if you're not familiar, or if this is like your first episode of listening or watching, then my brother is developmentally disabled. He's autistic. He is 3 years younger than me, and I'm one of the caregivers for him. So that is sort of like my primary, my steady income, I would say, and just a side reminder there, that most people who have businesses have, an additional source of income. In case you didn't know, I think most people know that, but I also think that a lot of people don't know that. So I just wanted to put that in there. But yeah, it was a really nice trip. And then the thing is with that one, my dad didn't get to really participate with us in like sightseeing and stuff because he was going to a conference. But two weeks later, so this is last week, I arranged for us to go to Reno just to have fun. I know that, my family used to go to Reno when I was little. I mean, we're Filipino, so like casinos and stuff. It's just kind of part of the culture here. But yeah, we haven't been to Reno in a while, and I'm getting more comfortable with traveling, at least by car. And, it's a decent drive from like Northern California to Reno. And so we went, the three of us again, we went up to Reno for a couple of nights. My dad got a free night at Silver Legacy, so we got to stay on, like the downtown street for a night. And then I paid for a room at Atlantis, which is, a little off from the downtown area. And we had never stayed there before. And so I just wanted to try it because I had looked it up and, it was nice. But like the reason that I'm sharing this with you is that I have gotten really comfortable with how much I like swanky hotels. Like I really like vacationing. I like playing tourist. I like going to places. And, we can talk about the astrology that I have about that. But, it's just like in my blood where I really like getting out there and traveling with people and having fun doing new things. And so it's, I wouldn't say that going to a casino is super wild or anything, but it is, for a family that's been social distancing for years now. And for, the super introverts that we are. And so being able to go, just as a quick trip with my family somewhere is really nice and, quite a privilege. I know that we're very lucky to be able to do that like on a whim and enjoy each other's company. So I'm just really happy that we got to have that experience, two trips in the month of May, which was super nice. However, that also means that I'm like really tired, which is probably connected to why I can't get my body to do things now that we're back. And I'm like, okay, it's go time. Let's start working. And like, I just can't get myself to do it. And another note is that I noticed that it might be possible that with all of my love of traveling and going on fun vacations that are very stimulating and very entertaining, is that I might actually be running away from something. Dang it, right? I might actually be running away. And this is something that came up just in my own like personal work. I'm always journaling. I'm always reading some kind of personal development book. And, I absolutely want to give myself that time and that experience of traveling and going to different places. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a thing too. Like, I have things in my business that I'm working on. Like right now, I'm kind of working on the concept of a membership. So a monthly membership where it would be like content based, but then I also definitely want a community aspect to it. And it's a little scary because it's something that I thought that I didn't want to do for a long time. Like for the last few years, I've been telling myself, I definitely don't want a membership because I did a membership years ago. And the idea of like creating content over and over didn't really work well with me then. And so I changed it into more of like a higher level coaching model where we're working on whatever you're working on, which is what Gentle Momentum ended up being. And that isn't going anywhere. But at the same time, I do feel this call to like create more and to play a little bit more with like my artistic side and see what happens when I experiment a little bit with, what content inside a membership could be. And so it's just interesting having to juggle all of that with my business, because then you've got, me personally taking care of myself, which is good. And then we have me setting up like the evergreen stuff for the things that I already have available for sale. And that's good too. But then at the same time, I also want to serve in the best way possible. And I don't want it to be one of those like, I have all these products and services. I have lots of it, everything that you could ever need, because that doesn't really resonate with people, right? And so what is it that I'm trying to put together here? It looks like I'm taking the concept of, getting things together so that you can eventually outsource. That's still there, right? Because we eventually will need to outsource at some point. So that is still part of the concept behind like the services that I provide. But I was thinking like there has to be some level of accountability. It's not just a matter of you learning what can be outsourced and what to get in place so that you can outsource it later. There's like the accountability aspect of it, right? So if you want to outsource your social media marketing, like the social media content, then yeah, that's a good thing to aim for. But at the same time, I believe anyway, that you should have some kind of process in place already by the time you start your search for like a contractor to help you out with making content. And the reason that I like that is that it's good to have a really good idea of what you like and what you prefer and what doesn't resonate with you and what you would prefer no one ever post on your behalf on the internet. And so taking that connection between like what you need to be doing and what you're eventually going to outsource, what is it that's keeping most small businesses and solopreneurs from reaching that point? And I think it's a little bit of accountability, right? Are you actually creating the content? Are you actually showing up and doing things regularly? And, I've got a thing about accountability these days because I think that it can get mixed up very easily with just like the capitalist way of living where you're like, you got to stay accountable. You got to stay focused. You got to, again, get that hustle go in. And obviously that's something that I don't want people to get from me, right? That's not the message that I want to share. And so I was like, okay, how can I make this more friendly, more welcoming, a little less stressful? Because I feel like accountability is a little bit of stress, right? It's not one of those like, oh yay, I love being held accountable. Like I can't imagine people actually saying that, although I'm sure there's somebody. And so what I came up with was, what if there was just, an offer of helping you get the things done in a very efficient way, which in my head is through batching. So if you're not familiar with batching, it just basically means doing a bunch of the same things together. And the way that I like to explain it is that you do your laundry in batches, right? You don't take one shirt and then wash it in the washing machine and then dry it in the dryer and then fold it and then put it away in your closet or in your drawers, right? And then you take the next shirt and then do the process all over again. No, that's not how we do it. We do laundry in batches. We take all of the dirty laundry. We put it all in the washing machine. We put it all in the dryer. And then we put it all, on the bed and start folding, or, start the folding process. And then we put it all away. And that's essentially what batching is. And that's what I would like to have, to kind of walk people through just as a general practice. And so I'm putting together some kind of, I don't know if I'm going to jump for the membership model immediately, or if I'm going to do like just a few workshops to get that concept down. But in my head, it seems like it would be a really nice transition between like the batching and, teaching how to batch and actually doing the batching together in some way. And then, after the fact, maybe after repeating the process a few times, then we can talk about, okay, well, how does this fit into the concept of, you having a more efficient business system? How can we get you to the point where you can maybe not even doing this at all, or only do part of it and then outsource the parts that really don't need to be you, right? So that's where I am with it. I haven't made any decisions. I'm just kind of like thinking about it a lot and writing it down in bullet points and figuring out a way to express that concept in a way that actually meets people where they are, because I don't know, maybe no one wants something like this. Maybe this is a terrible idea. And, of course, all of us think that about any offers that we come up with. But I don't know. I think that it could be something. So I'll keep you updated on that and let you know when, it's officially starting as something that exists outside of my head and outside of this behind the scenes podcast. And we'll go from there, okay? So one final note, and I do want to emphasize this, especially with me, like just kind of sharing whatever and sharing random stuff, is that I would like to remind you to make time for play. And that means doing things that are fun, maybe experimenting a little bit, maybe doing something that's completely off the rails for you. I mean, provided that you're being safe and you're being sensible, right? But see what happens when you let yourself play a little bit. What if you got more playful with whatever it is that's most important to you this week to get done? Could you go and sit, for example, maybe you have something that you really need to write out, or, a form that you need to fill out, and you're like, okay, I really need to do this. What if you did it, sitting in a park? Right? What if you sat on a swing and did it on your phone? I don't know. But just finding some way to change things up for yourself and not make everything feel like a slog, especially if you're just not feeling a lot of things like I am right now. So I'm going to take my own advice and start playing around a little bit more. I definitely want to check in with you next week, having said that I made some art, and maybe even show it to you. So look out for that. And yeah, take care of yourself, and thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.